All right, welcome to another edition of Beginner Breakdown. Just in time to see it all. Just got back from Colombia at the 2016 States Classic Champion, where my players did pretty well. One of the players in the audience, Chloe, beat a guy in 10 moves. Can you guess the opening she used? Yeah, the fried liver, of course, as white. All right, but cool. But today we got this lecture going on about don't lose the queen. All right, maybe not. Maybe it's called getting a queen, but don't lose it either, okay? So here we go. All right, this is also from 1998, and I have the white pieces. I'm 1,500 at this point, and my opponent is rated 1,700. All right, here we go. So I start out E4, C6. Now, obviously, right now I would play the move D4, but all right, I didn't know openings too well, so I play knight F3. So D5, takes, give him the big check. So he blocks. And so now I castle. What move do you think I wish I played before I castle? The move H3. Because watch how annoying this pin is going to be on my knight. So H3, a little late, because obviously he should not take my knight, so he retreats. So I play kind of cowardly and retreat to break the pin. All right, so E6, plays C3, bishop out, D4. All right, gets his rook on the C file here. And now I play knight to E1 to challenge the bishop. He retreats, so I challenge again. He brings his knight out to protect the bishop. He doesn't want the double pawns. So I bring my knight out. He castles, I trade, and now which square am I trying to hit with this knight and probably with this knight? So E5. So he plays the move that we always recommend never playing, F6, okay? So he doesn't want my knight coming into E5. So he stops it with F6. So my bishop gets out. He plays pretty wise here. He brings his king to H8, so he won't get checked or be in a pin with the move queen to B3. So I'm like, all right, you put your king on the H file, I'll put my king on the H file. Probably not the best move, but it stops any kind of bishop check shenanigans. So he brings his bishop back. I get my knight up. And now he breaks it open with E5. So what is the immediate threat that black has right now? E4, right. So if they play E5, okay, so obviously he's threatening my pawn, but he's also threatening to push the pawn, okay, the pawn fork. All right, so I don't want that to happen, so I play knight to knight to C5. And he goes ahead with his plan here, E4. So, does anybody see a decent move I can make with a knight? And it might not be the knight that's under attack. Knight E6. So I get a fork here, but it's not as good as I think. Where do you think he should put the queen? Obviously, don't lose the queen, right? D6. So, very scary. He's got the bishop and the queen in what's called a battery on the same diagonal, and he's heading down to H2 here. Okay, but luckily my knight right now is guarding H2, so I really don't want to move the knight. So I take the rook, he can just take it back. Okay. Because if he would take, which would not be good, I have an in-between move here. Ben Simon, you can't wait to answer, I guess. All right, who's got the answer? So, who's got it? Knight takes knight check, right? Pawn, and then I can deal with the that. So that's why he had to take back right away. So rook takes f8. So now I deal with the checkmate threat G3. He takes, I take. F5. So I play bishop F4, try to break up his attack here. So he takes, I take back. He decides he doesn't want to trade queens, but I'm pretty adamant about it, so I offer again, and this time he can't resist. Obviously, he should have, if he was going to trade queens, he should have taken back in the first place because he can win a pawn, right? Okay, but that's not how the game went. So he doubles my pawns here. But it's better to have a pawn for nothing than have a guy have a double pawn. All right, so knight up, and I'm going to make him pay, and I'm going to play there so he can't go to g6. But he's like, I wasn't going to g6 anyway. So now I got the e file. So knight f6 here. So rook up. All right, so he's going to take that pawn, and I get his pawn. But now, what move do you think he makes after I played the move rook e7 takes b7? What do you think he wants to seize in this position? Anybody? The e file, right? You know, right. So I noticed that he's got back row issues here. So if I can get my king off my back row, I can retake the e file with my rook. So I play king g2. It allows him to check. But after king there, okay, he gets my pawn, but now I got the trick where he obviously can't take my rook because it's going to lead to checkmate. Okay, so he gives me a check, and I go back. So now he's got to play massive defense with his rook, okay? So of course I double up on the 7th rank. So knight there. So now I want to get a pass pawn and get a queen, right? So the best way to get a queen is by pushing the pawns forward, obviously, okay? It seems elementary, but if they just sit there, even if they're passed, you know, they got to move them to get a queen, okay? Okay, so now he's gonna try as well. All right, so I get the knight out of there, and I keep with my plan here. All right, so these pawns are moving pretty fast, okay? Right, you're 1, 2, 3, 4. You're always 5 moves away from getting a queen, okay? All right, so he's trying to get his, but my king's doing a really good job of stopping. All right, so now rook takes a7. It looks a little tricky, but after bishop takes, rook takes, now I have 2 passed pawns here. They're going to be really tough to stop them. Rooks are notoriously bad at stopping passed pawns, especially, well, connected passed pawns. And this knight might not be as big as help as it can. Okay, so rook attacks my pawn, so I push it. Knight up. So here he goes. So he just saw me sacrifice a rook for a bishop and a pawn. So when I play rook to e7, bells should be going off in his head. So he plays g6. So what do you think I do? Yeah, take the knight, right? And now there's no way he can stop these 2 pawns. Even though, you know, one's 2 away and the other one's, you know, 3 away, there's still just no stopping them. So he gives me a check. I go here. And now he attacks my pawn, so I protect it. And now he plays king to h5. Should I just go ahead and play a7 here? All right, yes, he's threatening checkmate. So even if you have your own goals, you never want to be so, you know, blindsided as your own plan. You have to respect his moves, even if they are just simple king moves that look simple. Because obviously if I play a7 here, okay, he'll play g5. And then welcome Sanaa to the class. All right. And then if I get a queen, it doesn't matter because he's got checkmate. Okay? So in this position, what move do we have to play here? Every other move totally loses. Like, yep. F4, okay. Yes, just stop. Yeah, just stop. So in this position, F4. And now, if he ever plays G5, I'll take it. All right, so now it's just too easy. So I play queen to B1, and he promptly resigns. Okay? So that's a good way to get a queen. You know, you can sacrifice material because, you know, you're going to get a queen back. So things are going good. All right, here's another game where I get a queen pretty quick in the game, but I have to sacrifice a lot of material for it. So let's see how we do. All right, so white starts out. I'm white in this game, playing a 1300. So the Scandinavian defense, as we went over in Jonathan's class. So knight f6. So to try to keep the pawn, I play c4, and he plays c6, so he gives me a pawn right off the bat. So I'm feeling pretty good, even though he's got a temporary advantage with his development. So okay, so the bishop pins the knight again, but this time, you know, I got my bishop right there, so I can just break the pin. All right, so I get castled. He gets castled. H3. So this time he backs up to F5. All right, so I'm pushing all these pawns, and you know, it's, you know, as you say, they're only 5 moves away, so it's never too early to think about getting a queen here. All right, so pawn attacks the knight, knight moves, and you know, c6 here. All right, so rook attacking my pawn, putting in a pin, so probably just get it off the line so we don't have to even worry about it anymore. All right, so b6 here. So he's giving me a chance to get a passed pawn right away, so we take it. All right, so he wants to break him up with a6. So after capture, queen takes, rook takes. All right, so now knight's coming up in the attack. All right, so here's the moment of truth here. He plays the fork. Knight attacks the rook, attacks the bishop. Okay, so our pawn is 2 away here. We're doing pretty well. So does anybody see a decent move for white here to help us try and get a queen quick? It's going to involve a rook sacrifice, of course. So we're not looking for rook to b1, because rook to b1 loses instantly too. What's wrong with rook to b1? The bishop takes it, right? And then if we play rook to a2, right, we'll lose the other bishop, okay? So he thinks he's doing really good in this position, but he's not. So if we ever want to win, so if he's going to take the rook, right? And if we ever want to win that knight back, who's going to have to win it back for us? Either the rook or the bishop, right? If we play bishop b2. But bishop b2 is just too passive. So is there any decent move we can put the bishop that might help promote the pawn? Where would this bishop have to be in order to help promote this pawn? B8, yeah, right. Excellent. So where does that bishop have to be? if he wants to get the b8 eventually. F4. All right, bishop f4. So he's like, no big deal, I'll take your rook. Little does he know. So here comes a7. Wait.
Ah, it's okay.
Okay, yeah. So he can't, yeah, because we moved it. Okay, so now a7. And so he retreats his knight to safety. And now obviously we play bishop to b8, and we're going to get a queen. Yeah, why not rook a8? Yeah, good question. Well, okay, so if he plays rook to a8, right, there's a couple things we can do, right? We could take the knight, or we could just play bishop there. Probably we would take the knight here. So rook takes a1 is what's recommended. And it gives them a slight advantage here. But, so yeah, rook to a8 was the move, but I guess he was just so excited about seeing his knight free. So bishop up, so it stops the rook from getting to a8, and life is good. So he gets a bishop for it, and he got my rook for it, but I mean, I got a queen though, so hopefully she can go to work and start doing well. All right, so bishop to c2. So I got to get it out of there. And so, okay, so queen attacks the bishop. All right, rook protects the bishop through an x-ray. So, all right, put my knight in there, in the way. All right, so knight attacks my queen. So queen takes. So how do you think he's going to win this knight back? Attack it, right? So there's a couple different ways. I guess he could attack it with his other rook or with the bishop. Okay? So queen gets out of the way. He takes. All right. So bishop attacks the rook. So when you're playing where you have a queen and the other guy has two rooks, and you know there's other material on the board, especially if you're fortunate enough to actually have a rook, you really want to break up their team because rooks work very well together. So rook takes, rook takes. All right, so g3. You could take the free pawn, but he'll get that check in, and then I have to be in a pin, so didn't want to do that. So g3, bishop moves. So all right, so put the bishop in a pin there. Knight moves. All right, so now knight to g5. So I'm threatening queen takes h7 check. So he has to play g6. So it just forces him to make a weakness that he might not want. All right, so bishop attacks the knight. He moves the knight. Queen over. So that's a big move. I'm threatening to play right on d7 and threaten all this stuff. So he doesn't let me go there. That's a good idea. All right, so now my knight is protected. So that's huge because if I might be thinking about checkmate later, and my knight would have to be protected in order for any of those checkmates on f7 or h7 to work. So all right, so the knight moves, and now I get in another good move here. So d4. So obviously, if he takes with the rook here, I have checkmate. Everybody see it? So where's a check on this board? You see a check, Chloe? All right. Well, there's only one, so this the one you're looking at? Yeah. Okay, and then if he goes here, can I take some? You can take a pawn. You're with check, huh? Mm-hmm. That's pretty exciting. Then he goes here. I think I got checkmate here. Yep. Checkmate. Yep. So, okay, so he can't take, so when he plays here, I can take the bishop takes, and now I got two guys on f7, and obviously he can't take my bishop because of the same checkmate. So, okay, so knight goes back and protects the pawn. So now I push the pawn. He attacks my knight, and that's just not going to cut it. So after knight takes, and then what move?
Pawn takes pawn.
Pawn takes pawn, right. Attack the pin piece. Obviously, he still can't take the bishop because of checkmate. All right, so king f8. And so free knight. King over. Queen attacks the bishop. He moves it. I attack it again. He gives me a check. Move up. Goes there. I mean, I could flat out win this bishop here. Well, no, I couldn't. Because queen check does not actually win the bishop. Because what move does he make to save the bishop? Obviously, bishop back. Maybe that's what he was hoping I would do. But I didn't fall for it. So I put the queen in the same line as the king and the bishop. And so he gets a big check in. A run up. Bishop here. So, can anybody see some good moves? So, there's a mate in 3. There's like 4 mate in 4s, but I find the mate in 5. All right. So, let's see if you guys can figure out the best way to mate. If you see one of the mates, you can just stop calculating. If you know for sure it's mate, and just, hey, mate in 5 is pretty good. Does anybody see any kind of mate? Bishop G8 check. Is that the best one? So you would take, and then you would go, well, wherever you want to go.
First F7.
Nah,
Queen F7.
it doesn't matter. All right, so that looks like it's a mate in 1, 2, or wait. Let's do some counting here, elementary counting. So that's 1, 2. All right, so you found the mate in 3. Excellent. Bishop E6 is what was played in the game. Or Bishop E8 is what was played in the game. Bishop E6, check. See, it's going to be the same as bishop to E8, right? As in, this is how the game actually played out, where he can block, and he can block, and then he can just give up, right? Checkmate. Sound good? All right. So let's see one more game here. Well, maybe we got time for 2. So this game, I played against a 959, okay, back when I was 1628. So it should be pretty easy. So I was very excited when I got this position as white. I was like, oh, please, I'm playing a 900. He's got to be so silly. But he learned. He played bishop e7, okay? So I was like, darn. One of Chloe's opponents, she was playing a 1,000 rated player in the state championship. And I saw the kid a few months back play knight f6. So I was like, it's going to be really exciting that she might beat a 1,000 player. But to her chagrin, he played bishop to c5 on move 3 instead of knight f6. So he survived. All right, so bishop e7, one of the 3 recommended moves in this position. Bishop c5 and even h6 is okay. All right, so white gets castled, knight f6, rook e1, castle, c3. c3 is actually not a good move in this position because black has a trick here in the opening. Does anybody know this? It's a pretty common trick. You can just take it, and then after rook takes, what move can black slam here? The pawn fork on d5, yep. So okay, but he plays d5 right away. So captures, knight takes, I get the pawn, and I'm feeling pretty good. All right, bishop attacks the rook, rook retreats. All right, so knight's coming down. All right, so I don't want to lose my pawn for nothing, so I play h3. So now he decides to play for tricks. So bishop to h2 check. So I got 2 choices here. So I want everybody to take a look. There's only 2 choices, king h1 or king f1. And I want you to answer which one I should go to. All right, so who votes for king h1? Any hands? All right, so king h1, luckily nobody raised their hand. King h1 is not very good because it lets knight takes f2 check. And then I get your queen. So we really were doing a don't lose your queen video, huh? All right, so here we go. So all right, so obviously I played king f1. And so he retreats the knight. So a lot of people might be saying, oh, just play g3 here and then get the bishop. But what's wrong with g3 in this position? Yeah, it allows bishop takes h3 check. Okay, so I don't play that. So bishop g5 pins the knight to the queen. So he attacks it, and this time I decide I'm going to take it. So queen takes, knight up. I'm still thinking about getting this bishop here. All right, so the queens attacking each other. So queen takes, knight takes, and b5. Big mistake. So what's a really good move I could play in this position? Keeping in mind his bishop is hanging and my bishop is hanging. Bishop takes pawn check. Excellent. And then rook takes, and then I get the guy. I think he was hoping that I would play bishop takes, but then he would get bishop takes, check. And then, well, I don't know. He might even play rook here. Or he might just take and then be up a whole rook, you know. All right, so, okay, obviously I don't play that. So bishop to d5 attacks the rook. So if he moves the rook, obviously I'm going to win a piece. So I'm playing a little hope just of my own. All right, so he plays c6 here. And, you know, so I just take it. So bishop takes, and now I win his bishop. So notice I have some passed pawns now, right? So one passed pawn, the d pawn. So in order to become a queen, I got to move it. So rook moves. Whenever you're up material, especially if you have a passed pawn, obviously all these trades are great. Well, obviously this wasn't so great. I kind of sped through that part. I don't like to recall this memory. So obviously, well, you guys might have saw it at home already. Yeah, bishop takes check humiliates me. because king takes and rook takes, well, hopefully he goes there. But if he plays rook takes, and then, you know, I mean, I've had some comebacks in my career, but I'd rather not have to come back. Okay, so, but fortunately for me, my opponent Seth, he takes, and then takes. So I saved the pawn, saved the other pawn, and now I'm moving. So g5, pawn takes, knight moves. And now he makes a huge strategic error in this position. See how, I mean, this bishop and pawn doing a great job keeping me out of here. This pawn doing a great job keeping me out of here and here. But when he moves the pawn, which square do I instantly want to be on? Well, it takes two moves. The f4 square, right? Not with my pawn, but with my king. And now my king never, ever, ever has to move off of f4 in the rest of the game. So now I can just start marching these pawns, and I'll be feeling pretty good. So bishop attacks my knight, I move it. King moves over it, take the pawn. So knight gives a big check, and then, you know, you just keep moving the pawns, and now it looks like there's nothing he can do to save himself. And what's going to be the end? C7, right? It's over. It's all over. All right, and then he would move, and I get the queen the next move, and life would be good. Okay. So here is the final game. I might not actually get a queen. So I dedicated this game to a very special friend of mine, and I really wanted to play my best game ever. So let's see how I can do. All right, so e4, d6. So he's playing passive, so I'm going to play aggressive, like very passive. So get all four pawns out there, and you know what I can't resist? Get my knight out. I can't resist. I'm just going to go for it. G4. All right. So it looks kind of silly, but if my opponent is putting up absolutely no resistance and like not even playing the game, I'm going to try to just blow him off the board, right? So H5. So actually I capture it, and when he takes back with the rook, now he can't castle anymore. So actually, when I was looking at this game, the computer actually really likes my move, but I have no idea why. So I played it, knight to g5. So maybe I'm threatening to take. So you just saw me play knight to g5. So what move do you think I'm going to play right now? It looks like knight to g5, but it's not with this actual knight. So move the other knight, right? And threatening knight takes d6 check. So he's got to stop it. So he plays queen to b6. But anybody got an idea? Yeah, pawn takes c5. So I'm threatening the queen. And when he takes, now guess what? I get into my spot anyway. Knight takes check. King takes. And so I cannot resist taking on f7 here. What's another move I can make here besides taking on f7? It's removing the guard. Is the hint. Yeah, knight takes c8, and then rook takes, and queen takes. The only thing I could think of is maybe I was afraid of rook to d8 here. And then I would be like, what? Oh, I guess I could have queen back. But I guess I was afraid of it. So I chose to take on the f pawn. All right, so he takes my b2 pawn. Obviously, I don't want to play something like rook to b1 here because of check. All right, so actually, I'm just going to let him have it. So he takes it. But now my queen's coming down. So, I don't know. So knight up. Bishop attacks the rook, trying to get him off the h-file. And he finds the move, knight to d4. So one, it stops my queen from ever coming down. And remember, it's called don't lose the queen / get a queen. So what's he really attacking with knight to d4? Yeah, Chloe's looking right at it. C2. C2, yep. Yeah. All right, so I don't want to lose the queen. So it's like, all right, forget that. So king f2. All right, so he takes the bishop. I take it back. All right, so he's threatening to get rid of both my knights for one rook. That sound like a good deal for me? Nope. So attack the rook. So he takes my knight. So I take his rook with check. King moves. I give him another check. King moves. Start taking his stuff. All right, so king and queen on the same diagonal. And I got a dark square bishop, so I need to start thinking about that. But maybe I got other ideas. So queen moves. b6. Knight up, threatening knight takes pawn, check. So I'll probably move the knight, but he doesn't. Okay. So he's playing for a trick here. He's playing for a trick. Bishop takes pawn, check. All right, so it looks like I fell for it, but it's check. So knight takes pawn, check. So king moves. Let's see what I can do. Move my knight. So now the queen is protecting the pawn. So the rook moves. Play h3, kind of weak. Rook up. So all right, so now my bishop's in the game, and it's stopping the rook from attacking my queen. So rook threatens the pawn, and now bishop takes pawn check is a reality. But how many pieces of mine are attacking that rook? Two. How many of his are guarding it? One. So why in the world did he play such a move? And this guy's rated 1800, even though he's on his floor. So, but he's still 1800, right? Why in the world would he play rook to e6? They just decided, I didn't see that two players were protecting it. What is White's big threat after bishop to c3? And he's got a big one. Anybody?
Rook to d1.
Yeah, rook to d1. Yeah, rook d1. So if he plays like a random move, I'll play rook to d1. So I'm threatening his knight. And let's say, okay, well, whatever, I'll just protect it. Anybody see a checkmate?
Yeah, queen d5.
Queen d5 checkmate, right? And then if he moves his queen elsewhere, obviously you see this checkmate. Queen takes knight, excellent. So that was the reasoning he played rook to e6. And it doesn't completely drop a rook, because after take, which move does he play to get some material back? Knight takes, bishop takes, king up, bishop. So look at all these pawns I have. So let's start pushing them, right? Because he also has a passed pawn, but my bishop is doing a good job of just getting in its way. So the king's going to help escort up these pawns. And I got a good rook back here too, so that always helps. Big check, king up, check, king back, attacks the knight, knight moves, takes the pawn, bishop. All right, my king's coming in, bishop attacks the pawn. Does anybody see how I can finish this guy off? We have a forced win here. Rook to A8 check. He's only got one place to go. And I get to play my favorite move, F6. Checkmate. All right. So thanks for coming to another edition of Beginner Breakdown. Next week will be the last week, so make sure you tune in, come live, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I guarantee it. All right, lots of jokes. All right, thanks. Yeah.